Okay, let's go ahead. We're going to call this meeting to order. I think 6:01. Yes, it is. And all members are present except Tony Crane, who sent ahead to say he would not be able to attend today. Okay, first off, we'll look at minutes for the January meeting. And has everybody had an opportunity to take a look at these?
I uploaded them this morning, so I don't know if everybody.
I have not.
had a chance to go over them.
We'll rotate these through. I
I
guess
have
people.
two copies.
Oh, you got two
That-
copies.
that
Great.
way,
Let's
yeah.
take a look at that together. And take a minute and see if there's anything that is untoward.
This is what you had typed out, right? Okay. Are you
Yeah. Oh, great, you got the names.
That's what I was looking for. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, did she put down the names? Okay.
Good job. All right. Everybody done? Okay. Could we have a motion to accept the minutes? Ellen, is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, Casey. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And thank you again. All right, budget. If you'll take a look at the thing that has all the little yellow lines, okay, that's your budget. Everybody have one? Yeah. Okay. So before we take a look at this so you can kind of understand what it is, and it's actually going to be the second page that you're looking at balances. Okay. But let me explain this to you. At the end of 2025, we had $92,810.96. By the way, you can read this as I'm speaking. All of that was encumbered in an effort to put it forward into the 2026 budget. The total project cost is $113,464.56, plus likely a couple thousand more or less for paint, equipment, and rental. So by the conclusion of this project, we will have spent about $22,653 of our 2026 funds. Now that's going to come out of capital assets. It does not come out of Park Program or Twilight Series. So we're left with very little to work with as far as any additional physical projects. If you look to second page, you'll see that we're looking at $35,000. That very bottom one, that's uncommitted for assets, park assets, $35,000, and we've already committed about 23. Okay. One exception to the capital assets picture is a donation for the bridges. We have $10,250 left in this donation fund, and we can use that to build a bridge. It's already been motioned and approved, so and nothing's keeping that from happening. That money's there. It hasn't been spent any other way. Nevertheless, it's important to begin collaborations and grant funding efforts right away if we want to improve on the prospects that we might have envisioned for the coming year. Okay. All right. So one of the things we talked about also part of this is the encumbrance. Remember, encumbrance is how you push money forward to the next year if you have money left over. And we were able to encumber for two vendors. It has to be vendor specific. So the first was the Circle Park placing. By the way, parenthetically, I was looking through some notes trying to figure out what I should toss. And in 2012, there was a note to the school board saying Circle Park was wondering if we could put some equipment there. So it took a while, but by golly, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's 45, almost 46,000 was for the Circle Park playset. Now, though we had a quote for about 59,000 for safety surfacing of all the parks, and this was going to be encumbered, that bid was later withdrawn. Too late to encumber it for the other bid. So that means that money is in, I think it's called reserve, or if you look at the next page, uncommitted. See the bottom there, it says 2,500, 205,000. There we go. 205,000. That would be uncommitted. And part of the money that we had encumbered has gone into that. So what Joanne is telling me is that she'll pull the money out of the uncommitted as far as our 92,000 would have gone, right? And then that still leaves us with having to pull the rest out of the budget. Okay. All right, now let's remember budgeting processes here that is important for us to understand. And I double checked this with Joanne because there was some confusion for a while. First off, if we have it appropriated, which these lines show it's appropriate, we can spend it. Second of all, if we get a donation, we can spend it. No problem. Boom, we can spend it. Third of all, if we get a grant to pay something that has already been expensed, we can spend it without an appropriation. However, okay, so for example.
But I thought you could only use grant money for one very specific thing.
Whatever the grant money talks about.
Yeah.
But you can use it. You don't have to get it appropriated. If it's
Okay.
going backward in time to pay something you already bought or paid for.
Okay,
So,
got it.
however, if you get a grant and it's forward-looking, like we're going to go do this and this down at Wabachi, that has to be appropriated. So as we think about grants, most of the grants we're going to be looking at are going to be for forward-looking projects. And so we'll have to be thinking about how that money is there, but can't be spent until it's appropriated. Typically, Joanne doesn't appropriate till the end of the year because it's a costly expense. And so she tries to throw them all into one big bag of appropriations and do all the things you have to do government-wise. So we'll have to talk with Joanne, like if we do start pulling down various kinds of funds and we say, boy, we'd love to do this or we'd love to do that this year, then we're going to have a conversation on how that's going to happen, right? Instead of feeling like, well, now we just have to sit on this money and can't do this project. Okay, that's questions? We good?
Yeah,
Okay.
budget stuff always confuses me.
Well, and it is confusing, and yet it's the lifeblood. If we don't understand this, we don't understand what we can do.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody for paying attention. Now, a couple of things that will come up in just a little bit. So I'm not going to go into it yet, but it's about the trail. So we'll talk more about that in just a second. All right, what's coming up now is old business. And every agenda, we will probably looking back at our old business and then new business. All right, so under old business, and typically we won't require motions for old business, but there may be times. So the first one is just to have you all be aware that the plastic timber is going to be unloaded at the elementary school on the 13th of February. And then a dozen swing set mats will follow. So also, along with this, our inspectors come out once since and double checked with me. We did some measurements and we saw some areas where I was questioning how this should be done. And so he's in the process of making a report right now. And he has recommended that we consider making several, if not all, of the spaces ADA compliant. And I like that. I think that's very proper. And so part of that would be access, because if you've got that rim all the way around, you can't get in. So how would you get in? He said, initially just take out one of the timbers and let people roll up. But eventually we might want to buy little ramps. And so he'll be sending us some information on that. He also is looking up some information on special seats for people so they could get kind of wrapped in and tied in and not fall. So a couple of things like that would allow us maybe to make it more kinder to people who have handicaps. Okay, so he'll be sending that in his report pretty soon, and then he plans to double look. He says, you got a big project. I want to make sure that I make it as smooth for you as I can. Okay. So the city has already agreed to provide the equipment to unload the pallets, so we're not gonna have to have a squad of volunteers handling these things one at a time. They'll be pulling them off, and the school has been really good about saying, look, yes, you can use our parking lot as a staging area. And that'll be locked, so we can have at least a little bit of security about things not walking. Okay. All right, transitioning, maintaining the Trails to Park Board. Now, I want to use this as an example, please, of kind of the idea of how different committee people would start to be thinking about, what do I need to do? What are the main things I want to get done? What are the steps it's going to take? I'm just going to start thinking and brainstorming what that's going to look like. And then that way, you're creating this forward motion, and then you're reporting on that to the board each month and saying, here's where I need help. Like this may require recruitment, right? Or this might require fundraising to look on down 6 months or that sort of thing. Okay. So looking at this, you'll see if we were going to transition to trails, we would need to get the specs from Eric. Okay. Which, by the way, he said he's all ready to talk to you.
Okay,
Feel free.
great.
I sent you an email thinking I sent you a text. So of course it all messed up. So you didn't hear about it, but we're going to get better, you know.
Okay.
I am not a digital native, but I
That's
keep on
okay.
learning.
Mhm.
All right. So, for example, then you'd be learning from Eric, what do we need to do here? What happens for maintenance? And then you find out, that these written specs could be sent to a local vendor. Why do we know that? Because Joanne told us that we need to do it that way. Set it up so that you know what you're asking from your vendors, find out who's going to do what, how much it's going to cost, then come to the three of us. That would be Joanne, Eric, and Ellen in this case, and we'll start talking what we can do with this budget. Okay. One of the things to know about the budget is that there's a certain amount of ability to move between certain categories, but you can't move to other categories. So Joanne is real familiar with that, and that's why it's important to have her in the middle. So she's saying, "Oh yeah, you could move that, but you can't move that." All right. So that's why she's got to be in.
That's why I think the budget's unfair.
Why are you allowed to move some of it
So
but not all of
that-
it?
Yeah.
So we had the $3,000 when I got left from Twilight last year. We can't move that in any way.
It didn't get encumbered. What it did do is it went into that
Excess
that
or
205,000.
uncommitted.
Okay, yeah, so we're saying.
Yeah. So potentially, if there was something that you could imagine would be a really good idea, then you bring that and say, here's what I'm proposing, here's what we're thinking, which
Yeah.
brings me to another point. One of the really important things that I personally learned when I was on the school board was how really important it was that the board made decisions, not individual board members. So you can have a great idea, you bring it to the board says, yeah, we're behind you, or no, we think it should be changed, or whatever, there's a motion. Now you've got all the legitimacy to go someplace and say, here's what the board is saying and thinking, instead of you going and sort of like on your own, starting to talk about something.
Mhm.
And then they don't know if you represent the board, don't represent the board. You can create all sorts of havoc because, all right, all of a sudden they think the board's going to do this. Well, the board isn't going to do this. So what we would do with each meeting is that as a committee chair, you're saying, hey, this is what we're looking forward for. Is everybody still good with this? And most of the time, the motion's probably already in place for that project. You're just kind of bringing up a little extra. Okay, here's where we're going with it. That way, the entire board is aware so that if you get asked in the town, what's up, you don't have to say, well, go call Casey. You know enough to be able to say, here's what we're up to.
Mhm, right.
Okay. So we remain informed that way, and we feel unified. I've seen a lot of head nods. I really appreciate all those head nods because I think this is an essential ingredient to a well-run board, is that they are each other's best allies. Okay. So, we're at the spot now where you could talk to Eric to be able to get those specs, work that up, and send it out. I believe I got a list preliminarily of some of the vendors in the area, and I may have put that on the drive.
Okay.
Under trails, probably.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Answer to Eagle Scout questions. This is signage. So the committee that's signage, listen up. The Eagle Scout who wants to put in this sign wants to, his supervisor is asking questions about how much money would be available, how big can it be, do we have any equipment that we can offer through the city, different things like that, which they feel like we need to find that out for them, which I agree.
Signage, I'm sorry, not to cut you off. Signage would be advertising, right? Because that's me.
Yep.
Okay, all
Okay.
right.
And so when I talked to Eric about this, I asked him if he could give us some ideas about this, whether, for example, we needed to have any kind of granting from the city. And he didn't think so, but he said, you're on the highway, so you probably need to talk to NDOT and find out whether NDOT is saying you can't have a sign any bigger than this or any closer to the highway than this or things like that, which could really.
I wonder where he's putting it on the highway. I thought he just put one down in the park.
I think it's right in that triangle.
That
Yeah.
triangle
Okay,
where there's like a
alright.
wide.
Like across from
Yeah.
All right.
the fast pace.
So before
Yeah,
he
then
can go
just
further making
stay
any
down,
kind of decision
probably.
about that, we need to know if NDOT's gonna,
Yeah.
So Eric said he was gonna give us an idea. If you're gonna be talking to Eric anymore,
Yeah, yeah.
you might
Yeah,
just get the idea and flip it on
Yeah.
over to Stacy, to Casey. Okay, next is the topic of strengthening the pavilion foundation. Now, all the way back again, as I was looking through some of those, there was talk about completely destroying the pavilion and starting from scratch and all that sort of stuff. And I get that. And that is a great wish list. But I'm also wondering why a structural engineer couldn't talk about how to make that foundation secure.
Mhm.
So that, really, I don't.
Down
feel-
at Ravine? That's- Yeah.
Yeah, the big pavilion in Ravine. Because what they're talking about is it's busting out. Thoughts?
Just to let you know, the Attica Recce is gonna have an inspector come in to inspect the pool building. And if you wanted to, you could do it at the same time.
Are they a structural engineer?
Yes, it's from the state.
Ooh, yeah, let's coordinate. Let's see, that would be Park. That's either me or Ellen. We'll talk to you,
Okay.
yeah, we'll talk to you after
Okay, sounds
the
good.
meeting. Thanks,
Yeah,
great.
'cause why not hit them?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
great work, yeah.
Yeah.
And he wasn't charging us, right?
He wasn't charging
Yeah,
nothing,
he
because
was
it's from the
charging
Oh,
state.
gosh,
Yeah.
we were gonna,
Oh,
Yeah.
we were
that's
gonna spend money,
fantastic.
yeah.
No, he
Yeah,
wasn't
even
charging us.
better.
Yeah, he wasn't charging
Even
us, so
better.
that's even better.
Okay, all right, get that in the minutes. Okay, all right, so there, and then there's cement firms, Smart and AJ Hetrick, that might be the firms we would turn to get some of the cement work done. Okay, on to bridges. Can we get started with one bridge in Arms and the one short bridge in Ravine? I'd said to Eric that that's what we wanted to do, but we wanted to be sure we made it wide enough if you needed it wide enough, for especially the short bridge.
Mhm.
So, yeah, when you talk to Eric,
Ask him.
could you ask him about
How
the
wide
width
is
of
that
the bridge too,
Yes.
okay?
Mhm.
All right. Okay, now, all done. Any questions, concerns, or comments about old business? Please feel free, and then we'll move on to new business.
Just real quick, I want to clarify about the Eagle Scout, just
Mhm.
because I do feel like that falls within my area, and I want to make sure I do this before next meeting. The Eagle Scout is making a sign for Ravine Park, is how I'm understanding it, and we're wanting to put it on the highway
Mhm.
where the triangle is.
Was it, I thought he thought that's where it should go, but I don't know.
For some
Did
reason,
we
I was
decide?
with
I was
Nancy,
thinking
and
it was
I
down
thought
in
he
the park,
said
because
it
they were
was
talking
down
about
the
in the
park.
parking area and
I think
You know,
that
where
was
the cars were,
discussed,
but
but
they
I
changed
remember
that.
then it ended with it being
Be-
right on the.
That triangle.
Because there's really, and that's, like, when you drive down that road, there's not a clear,
Yeah,
this is
nothing.
Ravine Park.
That's
Mhm.
okay. All right. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify that because
Thank
I
you.
swear, Nancy, that's
Yeah.
what I heard
Yeah.
too. But now that you're
That's what
saying
I
that,
thought
Ellen, I
was
remember
too.
that.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
and I know that I've got an email that was forwarded to me from Justin that
Mhm.
had all those questions.
Okay.
And I'll send that to you.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. And so then, I hate to bring this up again, but the sign for Short Street or
Yes,
that entrance,
yeah,
we're gonna try to get
because
that done this year.
I think it's a really good idea. You guys all know we're talking about the donated land.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think so. And actually, that's gonna come up in new business, so well
Oh,
done.
okay,
Well
well,
done.
I asked it last time, so I didn't know if it was
Yeah,
new or
yeah.
old, that was old.
For
Okay.
old business on the bridges,
Mhm.
I did get with Joanne and she reminded me that City of Attica cannot, we good?
Yeah.
Okay, City of Attica could not pay, any contractor until the work is complete. So I remembered on the last bridge, we went through Attica Main Street to get half the payment. So I dropped the quote off to Cindy Mason yesterday, and that's in the works. So that,
Great.
and he said he's gonna start on that bridge as soon as it's warmer.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's gonna be exciting to get that done.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay,
All right. We're talking about the one in the park?
In the park, yeah, it will be the
I'm excited to
second
get that
bridge.
done.
Mhm.
Yeah.
there are 4, are there 4 bridges
There's,
total to be repaired?
Yeah,
We've got
4.
1 repaired, so 3
yes.
left,
Mhm.
3 left. And it's roughly, what, 8 or so per bridge? 8,000?
6,500.
6,500. Okay, so that definitely means we can get the short
Yeah,
bridge.
however, I think we will run out of I-beams. So then it might then end up being more. I'll have to get with Bubba about that. So I don't think there's enough I-beams to do all 4. Because right now he's using the I-beams that were donated
Okay.
from PJ a while back.
So that ups the cost, I'm sure, probably significantly.
Yeah, and then he said, once he's done with this bridge, he can get me a quote to see if we can work. So I think there's gonna be a little over 3,000 left with the donation fund to see if he can do the bridge in the ravine, like right by the
Yes,
place
yeah.
that he said he would let me know.
It'd be great to see a pretty bridge down there.
Yes.
Would be, yeah. Would be.
And I think it makes sense to make it 6 feet wide
Mhm.
plus,
Yeah,
so you're not scraping the edges of it. And then they can get across if they need to.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe Eric thinks it's just not necessary, so
Okay.
we'll go with his notion on that. Okay, so new business, advertising, web presence, and collaboration. All right, so one of the things that came, these are just thoughts to begin with, and then we'll see where things go, is that we are in a space this coming year, and maybe for the next 2 to 3 years, where several organizations are showing a lot of energy. And so the idea would be to have an explicit collaboration, a shared document, more or less, between all the organizations, that as they would be applying for grants, they'd be saying how this organization or that organization might be helping out. So for example, down at Wabachi, that screen that we might want to put over there, well, that's sunscreen that protects skins. So there's Mary said that there's a grant for to protect against skin cancer, so that you can apply for that, but it takes a 501c to do it. So we couldn't do that.
Yeah.
But it could be part of a larger kind of motion, like we'd be saying we're going to be putting in landscaping and this and that for the park around it, and then
Theater or something, yeah.
someone else's. I mean, we got year 1, year 2, year 3. Yeah. So this is the kind of thing to be. We've got 2 kind of incentives. Would be, one was making sure that we're all on the same page and getting excited together.
1 second, Jerry. Denise, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, real quick, the sunscreen and all that, I understand that Mary found a grant for the anti-cancer thing. However, because you're doing it in Wabachi Park, you can also qualify for the Blue Way money, and that would be a lot faster to get versus waiting on another grant.
Right, and Andy Smart, just walking out, was president 5 years of the board, and he said that one of the things the board had as a wish list was developing a trail that was up at McDonald's, came all the way down to Wabachi. When it got to Wabachi, it now qualified you for river funds, but you could use it all the way up to trail. So yeah, and he's willing to tell more to whoever. That's us, that's trails, that's park. What I'm noticing is that there's a bucket load of park stuff. And it may be that we're gonna have to, as we get bigger and bigger pictures, saying, okay, can someone help out with this or that? Maybe even recruiting. Yeah, I had, and it's starting to get people's attention. I've had 2 different people say, I'll help. What do you need me to do? Okay, so where are we? All right, so this coming soon, at the smallest way, that would be putting a sign on a fence at the old school, or maybe it's even a big billboard that says something like, all of us are in it together. And then you start listing all the different collaborators and start getting a sense of, because people are seeing that the playground's been rigged up for a while.
Yeah.
And they're interested in what the heck's going on, and folks at Circle. They come and they're asking what's going on. So I'm wondering how we might go forward with this. The small one is coming soon, period, and it's up on the wall. But the bigger one, but really exciting would be, well, what about our collaboration, some form of how we're going to do it, and it actually gets kicked off with a billboard sometime in the spring.
I like the billboard idea.
So this is big time in terms of collaboration between our advertising, web presence, collaboration with actors in the community. Well, so that's web presence, all that stuff, right? But that's also grant, probably, committee. Okay, then getting signage. I think I may have come across where the signs came from when I was going through all the stuff. So I'm going to look at that, but I forgot. And that was the one with the entrance to the acreage listing, the grant organization, and then the entrance to Ravine, then signage for Coalition and Vision. That's maybe the big sign on the road. So these are all things for web presence, signage, that kind of thing for people to be thinking about, but then to be working in collaboration with funding. Number 3, use of RAF. Now, RAF is that crunched up asbestos, asphalt, that when they're going down the streets, they're going to be tearing up the streets this summer, I guess.
They put a bunch of it down at the park, Woodpatchy Park.
Then you could take that, and then if you can use it for parking lots and all that sort of stuff. However, when I looked this stuff up, and the AI printout, I send it to you so you can look at that. But it's an AI printout, and I didn't check the sources. It says you don't want to put that where you get flooding, because then you have the pollution of the asphalt.
And then they put all that down the riverfront.
And so that kind of eliminates Wabachi for putting in those parking spaces the way we were thinking. But so we need to be thinking about, well, how else will we do it, right? But it wouldn't eliminate up high on Ravine, the toddler park or whatever we're going to call it. It has that kind of circle entrance, and that's looking pretty beat up. And
Yeah, a bunch of holes.
that one could be taken care of. And there could be other places. I don't know. Do we want to put that on the trail? I don't know if it's a good idea, a bad idea to put it on the trails. But we certainly have a whole lot of it.
Down, they look pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and it may be good. When I read about it, it said it should be rolled. So I just wanted that to be kind of a thinking thing for trails. Okay, then setting dates for Twilight Music. This is the first thing where we'll probably need board action. In order to coordinate with Williamsport and perhaps Covington, we've been asked to set the same weekend of every summer month so that they can put it on a different weekend and a different weekend.
Oh, so like do the second week of May, second week of June,
Yeah.
second week of,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
And so the fella contacted me and said, can we do this? And I said, well, gosh, that's a great idea. So I wrote, Brian Jordan is his name. That's on the next page. And that's on music on Monroe Street. So this would be something kind of you'd be aware of, Nancy, but us to make a
Yeah.
decision
I
about.
coordinate mainly with Main Street Attica. That's the one I mainly try to stay away from, is what their programs are, because I don't want to mess up their programs, because that's going to take away from both of us.
Yes.
So I definitely stay away from them. But Williamsport, because Vicky Strickler had asked if we would give our dates to them, because they have the Motorama, and they have something else I think in the summertime up there too.
Well, it makes
Yes,
tons
they-
of sense for us not to be fighting each other.
Yeah, but they're starting to have some concerts downtown.
Mhm.
So they had one the same time we did at the park actually last year. So
Well,
yeah, I agree.
We could do a motion that says whatever Nancy comes up with. Because I would like to get this.
Well, I'm waiting on
off.
Cindy to give me her dates. As soon
Okay.
as she gives me her dates, then I'll put some dates down and I'll check with Vicky too
Okay,
and try to come up with some. And
sounds good.
if I have this guy's number, I'll make sure with him too. He
And
said
it's a
it's
good
in
faith
there.
effort. This guy's trying to coordinate, so I don't
Oh,
want
that's a
him
good
to sit
idea.
there and just give up. Or
Good
even
idea.
if it's contacting them and saying, okay, here's what we're up to, but it's gonna take just a little bit longer.
Yeah,
Because he contacted me probably 3 weeks ago, and so just not having feeling like nobody's paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you
our
want
small
to,
towns ought to stick together.
yeah, for sure. And if you want to, Nancy, like once you come up with dates and you want to check them, like I can tell you that May 9th is the Jamboree here in town. So that might not be a Saturday that you want to do because all the families are going to be down at the ballpark all day long, sunburned. They're not going to want to come out to the park that evening.
Yeah, Yeah,
The-
and we're not doing it during the alumni this year. That did not work out last
No,
year.
it did not.
No.
But anyway, when you
Like
come
on
up
that
with
day.
dates, I might be able to kind of coordinate that with like things that are going on with the youth,
All right,
just so you know if parents are going to be exhausted that day and probably not make it out.
all right, yeah.
Okay, so maybe we just leave that open, that there's still time to leave that open
Mhm.
and let you kind of look into that and do everything we can to coordinate between the towns. Okay, next comes hiring for park program. Okay, so Casey was just telling me that she has all of the definitions or descriptions of the jobs, and that'll be posted on the drive, so you're gonna be able to look underneath the information on our park program. What we needed to do is three things. One is decide on whether all positions are gonna be open for candidates, review job descriptions to see if they need to have any changes. And also the idea of maybe we're going to get behind lifeguards. They will have training in April, and they'll get both CPR training and lifeguard training. And the thought would be, Sarah is requesting that we pay for one. I said $285, she says $250. Pay for one, maybe two, and they're as many people as want to go through that can, but they actually have a hard time recruiting. So it's an extra incentive for our counselors to be able to make, because they make a little more money during the hour is what I imagine we do. And,
Yeah.
And they're not, if we pay for it, it's not coming out of their pocket. So that makes it, a little easier for them to tolerate too.
It's definitely more enticing because they can do more than just the park program. They would have certification to go and get a job elsewhere too in the evening times and still lifeguard and make more money, and we're paying for their training. So I would definitely use that as like a marketing tool.
Yeah. And it's a really good thing for the school too, because this will allow them to expand their family night swims, different things like that, because they'll have lifeguards they can call on.
And I'm not sure if Sarah let you know, but I talked to Mr. Duncan, and he said that family night is also willing to pay for a kid to go through
Yes.
and get certified as well. So if we're paying for one and family night's paying for one and potentially more than one, that if we could both do more than one, I think we'd be sitting pretty.
Yeah. So that's kind of where this is going. I think they were hoping they'd pull in 5. So this kind of talks then that trying to get all of these folks interviewed and decided on before April.
So I think in the past we had interviews beginning April. Maybe if we had interviews at the end of March, set an extra meeting at the end of March, we could have that done by April. But I think if we're going to do that, then we need to have the jobs posted and open for them to apply before spring break. I'd like to have that. I think the years prior, it was like right during spring break that it was opened up. I'd like to open that up before spring break to give them more time, and then we can schedule them and have them before April.
Where do you post it?
Everything's posted online.
Okay.
And then if I know for in the past, if they wanted to do park program K through 5 and they were not able to get on and fill out the Google Doc, they could go to the office and it was printed out for them, paper copy.
Okay.
I would assume they would also do that for the high schoolers, but they also have their Chromebooks, so they should be able to access that.
Okay. All right. Well, all of that seems to be been there, done that in a way, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So the thing that I think we were talking about last time was about opening up the 2 administrative positions.
Mhm.
And at this point, I guess the motion would be what you make, and then you discuss it, right? And you can make amendments to it and so on. Do I have a motion for people to say we're going to open both, or another motion might be we're not going to open both? And it's just going to if there's already someone occupying a spot, you're free to make the motion, and then the board, if you get a second, away we go and we discuss it. If you don't get a second, that's not flying, and we got to come up with another motion. Okay, that's kind of a good way to keep moving business along in a meeting. So do I have a motion as to how someone would prefer we handle the administrative positions, because we already have established that the other ones are handled by being posted.
Do we want the director to handle, because like in the past, sorry, I want to make this question before.
Sure.
In the past, it was Morgan who posted the application process. Will that be how it stands again if we open those positions up, or will that be something that we will now post and the director won't?
Well, you make a good point. What's your recommendation? You're closest to this program.
I personally think that should be the duties of the director. So if we are going to open up the director and the assistant director position, those two positions need to be opened up and filled before spring break.
Okay.
So then that new director or old director, whoever the director is, has time to get those out so that everybody has time to apply. I just want to make sure that April timeframe, that crunch, makes me a little nervous that we're not going to have the things done before then. Because I mean, interviews, you have to go through a lot and make sure that we're all on the same page and then vote. And so, and are those live interviews?
Yeah.
We do the interviews live
I
as
don't
well.
think
we do, yeah.
We did. I don't
I don't
think
think we did last year.
Yeah, we did.
Should we do that?
Yeah, we did.
Shouldn't that be private though? I kind
We
of feel
had him
like
come
that
in and
should
talk
be-
to every one of them
No,
No,
live,
like-
live here.
on there. Okay.
I
Were they
personally
live
think
No, we
that
did
Oh,
should-
not.
on here? No,
We
I
did
don't
not.
I don't know
we
if there's
did
such
not.
a thing as executive session for park board, but I would think a personnel matter, you wouldn't make that.
No, we did not
Okay.
make them public,
Yeah.
no. we
I
did
was gonna
not.
say
I
that
thought
would
you
be
meant the personal
anxious.
interviews. We did have them come in, but no, we did not.
Well, then you make a good point of having the director and assistant be done beforehand because the director is always at the interview.
Yes. So that's like my other part of it is making sure that we know who that person's gonna be
Yeah.
so that we can say, okay, here are our expectations for you. Here is what you need to have done before spring break. And that falls within that category. If you look at, I sent it an email and I'm going to get it uploaded to the drive, but it falls within like the expectations of the director too, like
Okay.
to have these done. So if we're going to post that, we also need to decide where we're going to post it. And Joanne had said in her meeting, if we do open it up, if somebody makes a motion for that, we have to let her know. So if that's something that we decide to change, she needs to know. I don't know. She was it was kind of vague. Just let her know. I don't know if she needs to change something on the website or what all that entails, but we do need to let her know.
Well, it sounds like this is a good
She
meeting.
has the ability with the city page to push it out to all the social media, both Facebook,
That's-
Instagram,
Probably why she wanted to know.
TikTok, whatever it is.
That's great. That's
So
really
that's
good-
why.
Good coverage.
And so Joanne had emailed me back, and I'm not sure if everybody had the opportunity to read it as well. I could go back and try and find it, but essentially she said she had checked with someone in the office. I'm sorry, I have a chew or a lifesaver in my mouth. And it basically said that in the past they remember it being passed down to whoever had it until they stepped down. But she doesn't, hold on, I'll find it.
I remember reading it and she put it on there. but-
Clerk, right? Isn't that what she is? Okay. We are unsure how to answer this question. You may want to reach out to Justin and ask him how it was done while he was president, which I served on the board when Justin was here, and that is how Justin did it. Mickey stated, so Mickey works in the office as well. Mickey stated that she thought the director was the director until they resigned, but wasn't sure either. She says to check with Justin, but I think you will probably do it however you want. If you do something different, such as advertise the director position when this isn't how it was done in the past, please reach out to me first.
Okay.
So instead of opening it up to more people, should we just do some sort of like re-interviewing? Like, just to kind of figure out Morgan's goals for the next year? Just for like newer members like Tony or something like that. Instead of like rehiring her, we just kind of get a feel of what she has planned.
So you could start with a motion, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that, but get it to a motion that says, we will routinely ask for an update on where the director's gonna take
The
the
program.
program. That would be one angle. Another way that could be handled is that it's open, and that, of course, is part of what's gonna come up in the interview, is where do I think this will go? And the board has the opportunity to, it's always, I think, gonna weigh in the favor of someone who's been there, that they have that experience. On the flip side, it's kind of like when you talk about, well, what are new ideas? What kinds of things are gonna come that haven't been thought about before or used? And when you open it up, you give the board a chance to hear those different things. And I think one of the things that I like, that I'm not sure which director or whether it was the board, when they had each counselor say, here's what I'm gonna do for a week. I really liked that it was a very specific proposal. And it gave more concrete thing to the program. Well, similarly, you have people coming in, and a huge part of the interview is how would the park program look if you were running it. So either the notion that how's it going to look and it's just the one person, or how's it going to look and it's going to be however many candidates are willing to present. You're thinking about this. What motion would you like to put on?
Are we trying to have more of a hands-on approach to the entire park program as from a board standpoint, or?
You mean the board having more hands-on, or?
Yeah. Like, are we trying to be more involved in park program as a whole? If so, I think opening it up makes more sense. But if we're fine with the direction Morgan's taking out, I don't see the point of, I guess, kind of like performatively.
Well, point well taken. What are other thoughts? What other people have, building off of what you're saying?
I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I do too.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Because it definitely is
Mhm.
going to be a lot more work for the board if we decide to re-interview or post the position, because it'll be a lot of forward momentum quickly, because we want to get that April deadline. I really like the idea of like seeing almost like a re-interview. That's kind of what I wrote down, is like a re-interviewing process of, okay, what can we improve? What didn't go well last year at park program? What can we improve this year? And kind of seeing Morgan's thoughts on all of those things. I also think that if we do a more hands-on approach, I would like to take the expectations and like the layout that we had from last year. I feel like last year we showed it during interviews, but I don't know that it was necessarily enforced the way that we were kind of hoping that it would be enforced. So maybe that's something that we sit down with Morgan too, and we're like, okay, here, this is for the counselors. Once you talk to them, let us know what you think about our expectations and our rules. And that can be an open communication between us and Morgan as well. I don't know, I'm on the fence, because now that you mentioned the re-interviewing, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Basically because that's the way it has been done in the past. And I feel like, I don't know, I know people hate change.
I guess. Well, does the director serve at the will of us? If so,
Like, are we their boss? We're their boss?
Could we, if we wanted to, hypothetically, could we
The will of us.
just pick a different one anytime we wanted? If so, if we don't have problems with our current one, then I don't really, and we have the opportunity to not have our current one at any time. I don't think
So this is where I'm thinking. I'm thinking into the future. So Morgan's youngest son is in 2nd grade. When he gets up to 5th grade and he's not part of the park program anymore, and she's ready to be done with park program because her kids have, out-aged it, and we go to hire the next person to run the park program, and hypothetically they're awful.
Yeah.
And the following year we're like, hey, we don't want this awful person. What legroom do we have to stand on if we're not interviewing that position every year? Does that make sense?
that does make sense.
I mean, you could re-interview them again. So I see it both
Yeah.
sides of that.
I want to make a point. If someone else was like, man, that's a really cool job. Like, I would love to do something like that. Why are we not giving everyone an opportunity to have a chance at a job? It's kind of how I see it. If there's someone who's interested in it.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, there's no point.
That makes sense too. I see all sides to it.
Yes. And yeah, I think regardless how we move forward, we should re-interview whoever's in the position and planning to be in the position, just so we can reinforce some guidelines and rules and expectations that we have. And then if for some reason we see other candidates interested in that position, I think it's fair to let them interview for it too.
Okay, and thinking along those lines, if we did open it, we would have, I don't know what the rules are on requiring us to interview, but I suspect we'd have to interview anyone that said they were interested. I suspect. I don't know that for a fact.
Would that go along with the re-interviewing part too, though, Jerry?
Yeah, ask that again.
Like if we were to choose to re-interview Morgan to see what her thoughts were with the park program and where she wants to take it and things, does that mean we have to open it up to everybody or just her? Like, how does that work?
I think that's kind of our decision is how do we want to
okay.
manage that position. Again, not having sought legal counsel, but also not being told by the city, at least, that you got to do it a certain way to comply with city employment regulations, which was part of the question. And they said, whatever you want. So,
Yeah.
So if it's whatever we want, then it's a matter of us trying to think through what serves the kids the best and is efficient, right? Because I get your point. If we re-interviewed, for example, and then for whatever reason it seemed wise to open it up, well, that's putting us way down the road.
And and if we want to have this stuff done by beginning of April, we need boot scoop.
It'd be too slow.
Mm-hmm.
So it comes down to one suggestion is re-interview now, or the next one would be open it up to all candidates now, I think is one option. The other thing is we haven't talked about is the assistant. So is the assistant a re-interview or is it open up to all candidates? Do you treat the two differently or similarly?
I think for consistency now, it does make sense to just have them all open to everyone.
How long has Morgan been doing it?
I would think at least 5 years, 5 years or so. But I don't think she was director all 5 of those years. I think she was assistant director for a couple. And when Carly stepped down, she became the director. So Carly's son is 3. So I think she's been a director for 3 years.
And I guess like using the same logic, why do we not keep the counselors who want to do it again? See, it's like not consistent.
Yeah,
I guess.
we don't just say, okay, sure, you did it, let's go.
Yeah.
Because I can think of one specific counselor that I fought pretty hard for and she didn't get it. And then something fell through and a counselor couldn't be counselor, the assistant director. I can't remember how it all went down. And I called her and she did not want to take the position after she did not get it the original time through. And I told her, I said, I don't blame you. I understand why you're feeling a little salty, but we would love to have you. And she did end up taking it and she was a fantastic counselor.
It's an art, not a science, isn't it? Well, so we're to that point then of someone providing a motion. And
I think it needs to be, like Eli said, either all or nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think for consistency, I think we should open it up. So I make a motion to open up the positions to all candidates who apply.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, so it's been moved by Eli, seconded by Nancy. All those in favor of the amendment or of the proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Yeah, no, whatever.
that
No, I
passes.
don't
Okay. All right. So this would be. Would you be talking to them to say we need to get it posted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would email Joanne, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many total positions does that make?
There's 8.
Yeah.
8.
So it'd be director, assistant director, and 6 counselors. And we,
We could post them all at the same time too, couldn't we? Just to
I
see what,
wouldn't see why not.
yeah,
That
see
makes
what
sense.
that post.
Yeah.
Because that may move the ball forward instead of waiting for the director to post it.
Okay.
It might also mean, well, at least you got 3, and now you still have to go looking for 3 more.
Mhm.
Like that.
And if no one applies for the director position, besides Morgan wanting to do it again, we'll just re-interview her.
Yes.
I think that's
that makes sense.
Yeah. Mhm.
What if we get nobody?
You have to do
That would be
it.
a shame, wouldn't it?
What if we get nobody?
We'll be out
What
there,
have you?
we'll be recruiting. Which way is our recruitment group? That will not be your responsibility. Okay. True. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. We're good for that, and then you're gonna go ahead and notify Joanne.
And I feel like I should also notify Morgan, right? So that she knows that this is happening. And when I emailed Joanne about these positions and about how to get them posted, how do I go about posting that? Like, is everybody gonna get on the Google Drive and look at the expectations and okay those before we move forward? I would like to get moving like,
Did we look at those already?
yeah, we did last year.
Last year.
They were the ones that I came up with
And there
last
was
year.
no objections to it.
No. So if we're okay,
And do you have any notion you want to change anything?
not that I could see, I made them the first time, so I was pretty happy with them. But I just want to know, is everyone okay with me giving that information to her if she is to post this position?
Yeah.
And then how do we want to filtrate those? Like I think in the past, when Morgan has done the counselors, it's all been Google Doc things. Is that how we want to handle this position as well? Or is there protocol on that? Or how does that work?
What's the Google Doc you're talking about?
That's how they apply for the position. And the questions are in there and they have to fill that out and then it gets printed for everybody to have during interviews.
And Morgan always had that ready.
Yes. So is that how we would like to do that moving forward, or how do we want to handle that?
Well, if we're hiring the director and assistant director first, will they then still handle all the other?
They
council?
should, I guess, yeah.
Mhm.
So then we would just be in charge of making the Google Doc
For the
form
director. and
for the
assist-
director. Okay.
And assistant director.
Then I'm gonna only email Joanne about the director and the assistant director being posted, and I will let the director post the positions. Okay. One more quick question before we move forward. I know I'm the worst. I have all the questions.
No, it's good.
If we are to move forward quickly, would everyone be available for an end of February interview session?
Okay.
If we were to get an more than a few
Right.
applicants.
Okay, so let's get it on the board here. With that, are you talking like another Tuesday?
Tuesday nights work great for me if that works well for everyone else. Right now we're on the 3rd. So I would like to have the job posting up for at least 2 weeks so we can see how much, gauge the interest, and then maybe interview on the 24th, if that works for everybody.
Okay, and now Joanne has to get that on her calendar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is
You
that
can do it
what,
at 6 p.m. Same.
does it,
She has to have
Yeah, the
at
border list is
least
the second week.
48-hour notice, is it? Or is it 72?
I don't think there's anything the third week.
I send her stuff all the time.
Is it around
The day of? Well, I
do.
know that if it's a public meeting, you have to have it on the sign 72 hours. But I guess for this, it would be different, Jerry, because it's just us interviewing. So we would just have to make sure that the room is open.
okay.
So
Okay.
Tuesday,
So is that something you're gonna talk to her when you do this other two, or do you want me to do that? I
yeah.
think routinely, am I remembering that Justin would talk to Joanne if we were putting a meeting that was out of order, out of the regular order?
and he would have to do that. Is it 72 or 48? I feel like it may be 72. So 3 days before we had to have it posted for everyone to see.
Okay, well,
But this technically wouldn't be a meeting. This would be an interview.
okay, you're okay.
I don't know that you would have to post it being that.
No,
like
we
the-
wouldn't
like
post
the-
it because
like
it
the-
wouldn't be
no,
live.
Like the 72-hour rule, I don't think that would apply because it's not technically a meeting, it's an interview.
Yeah.
If it was an out of order meeting, yes, but interviews, no.
Okay.
Should we ask Joanne how executive sessions work first? To see if like we can just have the whole board in on an interview? Do we know if that's a thing or not?
We've
Well, we
just
do it
done
for
it and
the
never gotten,
events,
no.
yeah.
We
never
do it
been a
for the
problem.
counselors.
Yeah, we do it for the
Yeah.
counselors.
Yeah.
Because you raise a point that, public meetings and when we form a quorum, which we would, then that's a public meeting, but then, and there has to be all these things that tie to open meetings. But then the executive function lets you not do that, and so maybe that's something, well, if you're okay with it, you just say, look, this is executive, right? And can we do it that way?
Yeah.
And then this be,
I'm
it
we
should
can.
be.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So need another motion as to whether we're gonna pay for one guard. And it's $250, not $285. Would anybody care to make a motion for that?
Motion.
Okay, that's Ellen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Eli, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I can we make it say 2 lifeguards? Is it possible for us to pay for 2?
2.
Is that in our budget? Like if we were to get another kiddo,
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why we couldn't,
so can we make the motion
budget
say
wise. Yeah.
2 lifeguards?
Just scratch that motion back.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, I should have said it right when you said it.
Scratch
Motion to pay for 2
So-
lifeguards for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
So general consensus, does anybody have objection to changing that motion to 2 people?
Okay, now I'm in favor. Aye.
Okay, now we're good. All
2
right,
lifeguards.
all set.
Okay.
2 of them. Okay. All right, a presentation of park equipment. Now this, I'm not gonna go on and on because it would take forever, but if you'll look, you'll see an attachment to your email. And this is a pretty lengthy notion of different things that are gonna be needed, equipment, volunteers, all that sort of stuff. So it gives you an idea. We're pretty much looking at a time frame from mid-February until June. And so we'll talk here a little bit for recruitment about some things that may be necessary there. Okay. Before we leave, I need to have phone numbers from everybody because I need to change so you guys all get texts from me instead of it going to your emails. Again, I learned. Okay, on down, let's talk about each of these. President, see to the creation of agenda, smooth running of meetings, budget management, Google Drive upkeep, and coordination among board members and external entities. That was not in the original motion. There was no role for the president. So you can take a look at that, and if we're okay with that, that's going to be a change in the job, the job description of the president. Okay.
Nancy, if you want to put your name and number on that for Jerry,
Oh, thank you.
you can pass it that way.
Okay, could I have a motion to create this job description for the president?
Motion to change it, okay.
And of course, this could be changed, upgraded, changed, however you'd like.
Google Drive upkeep, that's a complete job in itself.
It is.
I make a motion to put this new description of president into plan or into motion.
Okay, so that's Casey. Is there a second?
Second.
Ellen? Been moved and second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, same sign. It passes. Okay, now in the vice president, I think that's just how we said it. And vice president needs to be aware of this 5-year plan thingy because that's going to be an important issue here. We need a final edit of that 5-year plan. And you could look that over. You may delegate portions, like we might have a portion of the board where we just all sit down, take one section and do something with it. But this is an important part, at least as I understood Justin, what Justin said about it, is it was an important part for us to be able to get certain grants. Okay. And in this way, you'll remind us, but we should all, I think, look at that 5-year plan regularly. But the vice president will have kind of this, now, you guys remember how far we're getting from the main goals of the 5-year plan in year 1. Right? So when people are getting excited for doing this or that, you're going to say, yeah, I get that. And remember, people have spoken.
And how much time do we have before the 5-year plan needs to be completed?
Well, as I understood it, it was 25 through 30.
Okay.
Now, what we're looking at then is, let's suppose we're trying to take things we got from, well, when I was talking to Mary the other day, she said it would be nice to know what people in the community said they'd like to see in terms of recreation and that sort of stuff. Well, we've got something pretty current. And as it turns out, the Y wants to know that kind of information. So see, this
We could share this
yeah,
information.
we can share that information instead of a whole new survey.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of things where we keep on thinking, oh, well, we can offer you this, you can have this. Okay, secretary, nothing's changed there. Programming, nope. I don't think there's anything changed on the programming. I do want you to notice Brian Jordan needs to be contacted and Rosita Lopez of the Racket Set Go, because she, her representatives came here, but we've not nailed anything down about, well, what are they going to do? The board gave a general approval, but there may be specifics of what they're offering that the board would say, yeah, I support that. No, I don't think so, whatever. So I thought we should get this nailed before the spring really gets pretty. Okay, so and on the back it talks about things like firmer start, stop, and so on. Right now in advertising, I think I just added that these are things that advertising might want to start thinking about.
I would like this year too, when we do the Twilight series, that every band we advertise with
Get their own signs.
with their own signs. That worked out better last
Yeah,
year.
it did.
It really did. We only did it one time for the last one, and it brought in a lot more people.
Yeah, because I made those
Yeah,
bright
it made a
red
big difference.
signs.
Yeah, you made them really bright. They were red and white, I think.
Yeah.
They were really, they showed up better.
Okay.
I think that when the signs are there for so long, people just start ignoring them.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
when they're
but I
fresh
think
and
if you
new.
change the colors and make it different, then every time then they see a new sign, and they're gonna look at it.
Makes
I
sense.
think if it's the same all the time and it's just there all summer long, they're not paying attention to
And
it.
honestly, they weren't that expensive.
They're $15 each.
I mean, I felt like that was a pretty good price.
Or they were $10. Either way, we spent $150.
Yeah,
And I forgot 10, I forgot 15.
we
I
got
don't remember.
50.
And they must have been $10 each.
Yeah.
Because I thought we spent $150. I didn't think that was too bad.
And then are we going to get a couple of the bigger signs like before?
The beginners.
Yeah, the big banners.
Did we have a banner that we could just change the date on?
Yeah, it has Velcro, but
Okay.
I mean, it's not going to be the same color scheme because we got that light color scheme.
Yeah.
So, which is fine. We can change the dates on those as long as our road signs are bold.
Yeah, true, yeah.
All right, so moving on to grants and fundraising, taking a look there, and it's clarifying and documenting in a drive how we can move forward with others. So, you may find yourself saying, here's what we were thinking we wanted to do. And it seems to me you may find yourself needing to coordinate with other committees. So that one of the things that could be an issue, what I noticed when Ellen and I were working on the same project, and kind of wondering, okay, who's got the ball here? So today, Joanne sent a note, and then I sent a note, copied everybody, and says, yeah, I'm out. Ellen's in. So now they know who's point. And I think that's important. Otherwise, if you have 3 people calling, someone will go, do you guys talk to her? Okay. The Community Foundation grant, I think, has a $25,000 grant. Now, word on the street has, and I have no idea if this is true or not, but that the baseball folks did get a decent grant for the ballpark.
Is it a grant or all
community.
donations?
So I think, you know,
30,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Seth went and interviewed for it.
so I think, you know, it's really, you know, good to know that if we were putting that as a high priority, that's probably going to be helping us. But I don't think, now Grant needs to look at this, but if I'm remembering, it's the later part of the summer before you can apply for that one.
The
So,
legacy grant that is the 30,000 or more, it is actually due in April.
in April,
You have to do a letter of intent due by February 15th, 14th or 15th. And then after the letter of intent, then the grant is April, I'm thinking April 15th.
well,
Which
thanks.
grant is this? The legacy?
The legacy where you can, anything that's over $7,501 on higher is the legacy. And that's when you have to, it's coming up and it pays out in June.
Oof.
So,
Okay, well, yeah, that's I'm sorry, I missed that. Glad you're out in the audience. Yep, so that means there's gotta be a letter of intent by the 15th. So Grant would have to put that right at the top.
Just
Yeah.
curious,
I would have a few days.
do it.
what are you allowed to use that money toward? Like, are there stipulations?
Not
Or you
that
can
I
just
saw.
apply for it?
No, it's through the community foundation, you can apply for it for anything. We're applying for it for our feasibility study and a couple other things that we need to do. So we actually, they told us,
Did you do it for bridges? To finish the bridges? Like, is that a
yeah,
possibility?
it is. And Dale told me that if you have several things you want to do, lump them together and get one grant. Because if you go after several grants, that looks bad, but if you get one big one, that's okay.
Okay.
So,
You talked about kind of having a 2-year vision or a 3-year vision when you're asking for this money. How would this all play together? And what I could imagine is one emphasis would be on trailblazing. You know, so in other words, all the stuff that's happening in Armswood and maybe getting all the junk out of, you know, those cut down trees out of Armswood, and then coming on and creating trail all the way down to Wabachi, and maybe a trail that goes across on the pole, where you pull the towpath, on the towpath. So you could have a view of it that way, right? And then that allows us to go with them, but it also allows us to go with the Blue Water grants and that sort of thing. So being familiar with that, but if the letter of intent is just to get your toe in, and then you could dig in. So that's on the web. Eli, are you okay with taking a look at that?
Yeah.
Making that priority? Okay. Back again to the DNR needs edits before they would approve any kind of funding. And so that goes back to the 5-year plan. So it could be those two emphases right now would be the 5-year plan, and then the other one would be the legacy grant. Does that sound okay to everybody? I don't think that requires any motion, just a general consensus so that you know you've been given authorization, if you will, to dig into that. You all okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, all right. All right, recruitment. Now, recruitment's a big one right now too, because we really need to look for volunteers and to arrange for coordination of that activity. That's your title, but here's your list. Beginning February, we need people who are willing to nail in the borders for the mulch and later to prep and paint the playground equipment. We also need volunteers from around Circle Park to paint equipment, probably by April, and probably volunteers to circulate pamphlets around the homes in that neighborhood to draw them in. You know, it's kind of an old-fashioned pamphlet thing, along with getting it posted. But they have, I mean, in my ideal world, it could be high school kids or even junior high kids going around, you know, it's kids posting these
Yeah.
pamphlets, right?
For the park.
Need to approach Stacy Madden at the school about student volunteers throughout the year, because there's a state requirement that the freshmen and classes thereafter have to put in a certain number of volunteer hours.
Stacy told me it starts next year.
Is it?
Yeah.
Too bad.
No, I already hit her up for it.
Okay, thanks. Well, I guess we'll put that on hold till next year. Sarah says that the senior class will provide volunteers for 1/2 school day
Oh, nice.
in late spring. So we could have pretty much the whole senior class working at the park to
Weren't
prep
they
or
supposed to
paint
do
or
that
things
last
like
year,
that.
but they did?
And it didn't go through, and I don't remember
Didn't have
why. I think something happened to that day, some kind of,
Was it rain? Did it
Yeah.
get rained out?
Could have been, so it was gonna go and it didn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's too bad that it's next year.
I know.
What?
I thought the same thing.
Well, just the same, it's possible recruitment might come up with ideas of, for example, the FFA, the FFA sent volunteers to the Lebanon Children Home. Just because that organization values service and kids are asked to provide service. And so several kids stepped up and went to the Lebanon Children's Home. And so while we were talking to him, he said, would you be interested in doing anything for the park? I said, oh, sure. So I think it could be recruitment would talk to different group.
Margot Galloway is in charge of FFA, and Jessica Galloway is in charge of National Honor Society. And I know that National Honor Society students, they do have to have a certain amount of volunteer hours. That's why they volunteer on family nights for childcare. But I can talk to Margot Galloway and about FFA volunteering, because I feel like that's right up their alley. And she just did all of the swimmer boxes, like her shop class built all of those, and they donated the back boxes last year. And so that I feel like Margot would be
She's a
extremely,
go-getter too.
yeah, she's extreme. She would probably be extremely interested in that. So I have no problem marching my butt down there tomorrow and asking her for some help.
Well, are you on recruitment? No.
No, I'm not.
You're just being a volunteer
yeah,
for
sorry.
recruitment. No, it's
giving
not
myself
happening.
more things to do.
Yeah, you are. You're really stepping right up to the plate. So, I mean, this is a good lead, though, if recruitment would like to use you to talk to Margo.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm thinking about is every sport. As far as I know, every sport tries to do some kind of volunteer thing for the city. And man, if a person had every team lined up for prior to the end of school, every weekend or every Friday, I'm off every Friday, so I can supervise every Friday. So if recruitment were able to line that up so that there's a half day on Fridays or something like that, that they got out of school and worked at the park, and we'd have that scheduled for the whole summer. The whole spring.
That's a good idea.
So, and who's recruitment? Is that,
Is it you?
It's me and Tony, right?
okay, well, who's fundraising then?
That's Tony.
Yeah,
Also me and
Oh,
Tony.
I
Say it's
see,
together.
yeah, the two chairs and
It's
then also
together,
the
yeah.
co-chairs. Okay, so that, just with our time frame here, really need bodies. So maybe Tony would, he's got a net there too to run interference and do some stuff. So maybe if we
And
could
that's all
put,
that.
so with Grant, it would be the two things, and with recruitment, we'd be getting folks for the park rehab. Okay, now this is kind of an idea. I meant to do this, and it is extra long, and I really appreciate your patience. But it gives you some idea of how a person would begin to sort of say, well, what are we going to do? And what would it look like? And would this overlap with another group? Like recruitment would need to be pulled on board to do what we're doing. And so when you come to the next board meeting, a lot of it would be about that. Well, here's what I envision. Are we all on board? Anybody have any changes or anything we see we need to do? And so you'd have kind of a working meeting each month, so that we're coordinating among ourselves and we're all knowledgeable where things are going when we're out in the community and we can promote it. All right, so how's that feeling to everybody? Good. Seeing a lot of head nods.
Yeah.
Real excited about that. That's a really good thing. All right, then. So there weren't tons of motions today, and I saw you were busy writing on ones that were. And the rest, though, is people have had different things they've jotted down and say, okay, note to self. And so is there anything else? I hadn't asked for anything, and I need to add this, any information from people from the population from the front, from the, what do we call this? Audience, the audience. Is there anything from the audience? You've already made a lot of nice contributions. Thank you.
The inspector will be here February 19th at 10 a.m.
Do we need to notify the inspector that we would like them to do?
I will let him know.
Thanks, Denise.
No problem.
You're just gonna meet him up there?
Huh?
You're just gonna meet him up
I
there?
meet him at Taco Bell because he doesn't know where Ravine Park is.
Okay, okay.
Hey, the sign
Sorry.
from the
I
scout.
doubt
That'll
that-
help.
Because I'd
I
like to
doubt
know
that
what he
the
has to
state
say
will
about
allow
the
that
movie, and I'll
sign
try to
there.
make it.
Because, what was it, 4 years ago, there was someone running that had a big political sign there and they were made to take it down. The NDOT made them take it down.
Interesting.
So I doubt that they'll do that.
I think there's some kind of permitting process,
Yeah.
but I don't really know for sure.
Probably because
Well, the sooner we find that out, that's the better, for sure, because otherwise he's gonna feel like we didn't get, I would feel like you're not taking me seriously.
yeah.
I have one thing before we wrapped up. At my last visit with my grandpa, you know how he's donated of several sculptures around town. Well, the one at the old elementary school, it's like a musical structure. He's wanting to have that move, and he wanted to talk to the board about how we would feel about moving it in Ravine or maybe at Quebec Parks. And there's plans for a pavilion to go up, amphitheater. It's a musical theme. So since we have Twilight
that's
series down at Ravine, it might be nice to have something like that. But what do we feel about vandalism happening to it since it's like more secluded?
And
He
if
will
we're
pay to
thinking about
have
doing
it
the
moved.
amphitheater down at Hibachi Park, it might be better to move it down there.
I like
Because then
thought
it's
it would be
more
I do
out in
too.
the open.
Down there around that park area down there.
Yeah.
Because also park program is out of Ravine Park, and you don't want kids climbing on it.
That was my
and,
thought process.
Just to keep it nicer for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
I feel like the other park.
Is there a time frame, or is this something that we can say, well, we're aiming to put something down there that would be musical, and then we could put it next to that?
Yeah, no, there's no time frame. He wants to have it moved since
Okay.
we don't really know what's going on with the elementary school building. And
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well,
I just think Hibachi Park would be a good place if we're talking about doing the amphitheater down there anyway.
Yeah.
I
That'd be
agree.
a
I think
good
it would
place.
look nice down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Also, I did send you some pictures while I was down in Arizona. We saw some stuff it's really just posts and tarps. And pretty, and I'm thinking not that it'll be cheap, because I think the ones down there by the baseball field at the school,
Mhm.
they have those kind of tarps
Mhm.
that
That
protect
provide
people that are
shade.
sitting there. And they weren't cheap.
Mhm.
So, but still, it might be a way it's artistic looking, it's nice looking. I also sent you pictures of,
I guess I didn't realize it was just a tarp.
there were different,
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought it was.
I thought it was a
Whole
whole thing.
amphitheater,
When I looked
yeah.
at the pictures, it looked like a whole thing. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was just a
Yeah, I thought it
tarp.
was all.
It's a really nice looking tarp.
Yeah, true, yeah.
yeah, and then there, also the picture of where it covers people that are sitting, just want to watch stuff, so there would be that. And then there's a picture of over playground equipment, and it looked more like a tent.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I
But that
saw
doesn't mean you
that.
have to stick with it, it just means that we
Nice.
might go with that look throughout, right? As a whole series of tarps,
Mhm.
as a way to pull that all together. The other thing to think about is, again, where would the parking lots go? And the old pictures would show them essentially over toward the sewers processing, but maybe we want to pull it over on this side, real close to the
Yeah.
the playground.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so you can kind of look at that and, it has like a sidewalk around it, and it has bricks, and it has some trees and different things like that. And it turns out a prior board was looking at recommended trees. The state was recommending, at the time, was actually providing them for free.
Mhm.
So maybe there's a program like that still, and we could get some of these things without having to pay for them.
Mhm.
The last council meeting, the council passed that they're going to be putting trees that line in front of the old sewer plant to block the sewer plant. So they're gonna be looking into trees to block view,
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
to make it a little bit nicer
Is it-
feeling.
Probably like a pine tree type though, isn't that what they use or something?
I don't,
Fir tree, pine tree or something.
yeah, it could be. Certainly seen that done,
Yeah.
using pine trees to make
That'd be
it.
good.
Make
Yeah,
a
it'd be
block,
nice
like
to
a
do
wall.
that. Yeah.
Well, so we've got a lot that's pretty exciting for the future. This collaboration, that would be something, which group would be doing that? Let's kind of make sure it's got a home.
For the billboard?
This, well, it
Or is
goes
that
with that, but
advertising?
it's
Or-
really kind of getting in touch. Maybe would it be programming or would it be grants? What do you guys think?
The billboard goes through Attica Main Street.
Yeah,
Oh,
You have to go
nice.
through
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Nice.
And I'm just trying to figure out how we get out there. Who's our representative to get out there and start talking? I know that you were and someone else was gonna sit in on the Y stuff.
Me and Nancy.
And Nancy, okay. And so that's what I mean is, do we kind of keep you guys, maybe one or the other of you are the primary people going to different meetings?
Meetings.
So that it's not confusing that we've got 14,
Yeah.
several different people.
That's
You
fine.
okay with that?
I'm totally fine with that. I like to be in the know.
So the thing would
I
be
gave
right
you
now,
your information so she can get her contact you too, so yeah.
let's see if, maybe Nancy, would you be willing to kind of think, okay, how would we and who would we want to talk with? We know that we want to talk with Denise. We know we want to talk to Mary. We know we want to talk to Cindy. Right? And who else are the people we want to start talking to? Mary tells me that the Y wants them to have a circle of stakeholders. Everybody always does. So being a part of that, letting them know right away that we want to be a part of that and support that would be a
If
good
the park
starting.
board would support that initiative with the Y, that would actually show city buy-in, because the city has not had anything really to do with the Y yet. So that would help us go a long ways to show that the city is interested. So.
I could see this as being a really
But we
pretty
work
major
closely with you
project,
guys too,
honestly.
with the rec, board
Well, I
too.
think Stacy said she's been working on it for years.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I mean, a long time
She
she's
was the
been
first
working
one
on
to come
this.
up with that and say it needs to come. Mary told me that they're actually, Attica is actually on their plan
Strategic plan.
of getting serious.
That's awesome.
I get the pickleball board on board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Say it to you.
Okay, well then, I think if you're okay with that, especially since you have had several of those contacts and you are interested in having several of those contracts, can we just say that's going to be your thing for a while? How that's all going
Keep those all coordinated.
Okay, then, wunderbar. Anything else? Anybody else? Seeing none, I'd like a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion.
And second,
I second.
and all those in favor? Aye. And it is adjourned at
7:23.
Okay, 6:23. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jerry. And who seconded?
I did.